Wow, I can't believe we are doing this, and I don't even know what would be the odds of meeting you here in USA. And when I first got to know that you are with Washington Freedom, and Dheeraj called me that are you up for this stint, I was so excited, more than this, to meet you and work with you again, because that has been one of the most favorite parts of my career, to listen to you, to work with you, and learn from you. So here we are, and so excited to have you here again, Coach.
Yeah, it's been a few years. Well, it must have been 5 or 6 years ago that we first.
2018,
First,
first year
ago,
with DC.
Yeah, first year at DC. Yeah, so and this little journey that we've had here at Washington Freedom, which started for me about 6 months ago, to be honest. Actually, on the beach during the summer holidays back at home, and got a call from Michael Klinger wanting to see if there was any interest in me coaching the Freedom, and straight away I was excited by the opportunity, and had a few other boxes I had to tick with, just seeing if I could actually do it with the IPL commitments and stuff that I had, and making sure that it fit into the calendar really well. But yeah, everything lined up really well, and it's been an enjoyable month, and as I said, hopefully it gets a bit more enjoyable tonight.
Amazing. And you spoke about Shane talking to you, Watto spoke about MLC and the great things, and probably that was one of the factors you thought you should come here and take up this stint.
Yeah, I spoke to quite a few, all players and coaches that were involved in the tournament last year. Obviously, Praveen Emre was involved last year as well, who was assistant coach with me at the Delhi Capitals, and all the feedback I heard was that it was a really enjoyable tournament, and the potential to grow quite quickly. A lot of really good overseas players played last year, but if you look at the quality of overseas players here this year, it's on par with any tournament in the world as far as that's concerned. I mean, look at our team with the quality that we've got with Smith, Head, Maxwell, Marco, Lockie Ferguson, these sort of guys that have been in our starting lineup. There's lots of good players here. So, yeah, look, I wanted to get involved early on. For me, there was two sides to it. One, I knew I was coming to a good team anyway, with some very familiar people and faces, and even players. But also in the back of my mind was, me being here and other experienced international players having the chance to help grow the game in the US. So it wasn't just about about me and my coaching role. It was to try and get involved with the growth of the game. And I think there's a huge opportunity, and with the quality of players that have been here this year, I think, in the scheduling, if it works for most players going forward, I think this tournament will grow quickly and end up being one of the premier T20 domestic comps in the world.
Absolutely, and it's thrilling to see how the media is now taking interest. We bump into random people at the airports and they're talking about cricket. They're curious to know what's happening in here, right? And over the years, I'm pretty sure it's leading up to LA 28 when cricket would be played in the USA in the Olympics for the very first time. So that would be a monumental moment for us.
Yeah, and I guess timing with the second MLC this year, on the back of the World Cup as well, there was a bit of, I think, of a hangover from the World Cup, and how well received the World Cup here was for the first part in the US. So I think that's sort of flowed on and continued on. But there's still some work to do, I think, with working on the basics of growing the game in the US. And I think, for us, Washington Freedom, I think, with guys like me and Smith and Head and these guys involved, it gives Washington Freedom a chance to grow its own brand, but also gives the competition a chance to grow as well. So, it's been great so far.
I spoke to Michael earlier today and heard the story from him about kind of getting you in here. And I also want to understand your version of how did we get some of the guys like Maxwell, Travis Head, phenomenal international players, top quality, and we see whenever they are near the boundary rope, the fans are just screaming for them. So how did we manage to assemble such a strong squad?
Well, I'm not sure what Michael's actually said to you, but no, a lot of our conversation was, obviously Michael was keen to get me involved here as a head coach, and he thought that if I agreed and signed on as head coach, that the chance of attracting some of the bigger name Australian players to our team would probably be exaggerated. So pretty much, actually, even before I'd actually finally agreed terms with Freedom, I'd already spoken to Head and Maxwell and these guys. Smith was already done, he was already signed, and one of the reasons that I wanted to come here as well was to be able to work with Stephen again. I've coached him in the IPL, and obviously spent a bit of time as an assistant coach around the Australian team, and his leadership on and off the field in this tournament's been outstanding. So, once I was signed, it was getting on the phone to those other Australian boys and making sure that they signed with us and didn't go anywhere else. So we were lucky to get those guys. They're some of the best T20 players in the world, and I think we've seen in this tournament just how good and damaging they can be. So the international guys have got pretty busy international schedules, and there might be a bit of a clash next year with a couple of the Aussie boys. But yeah, if we look further ahead from this year and start looking at guys who might be able to attract to play with us next year, then I'm sure we'll come up with another good squad again.
Absolutely. And now, just shifting our focus to this season, it's been quite a journey. But I would want to start with the absolute start. We trying to get you in here, and you being stuck in the Caribbean. But you were in touch with everyone. You kept talking with everyone, and we have such a able kind of coaching support here who took care of the boys quite well.
Yeah, look, I wasn't worried about the preparation with me not being here. You know, I'd spoken to Cameron and Sean and Michael, you know, a lot leading up to when the camp started. From the moment I arrived, I think the first time that I addressed the team, or even maybe the second time I addressed the team, I already knew that there was this incredible chemistry and bond that had already started amongst the players and the staff and everyone involved with the team. And you know me well enough to understand that that's the thing that I care most about around teams is having everyone together and on the same page and having some fun along the way and enjoying, you know, pre-game and post-game sort of moments where we can. But that seemed like it had already started. So, but I did everything I could to, you know, whether it was 5 hours on a golf course with some of the local boys or, you know, sitting at breakfast or dinner or just hanging around the team room waiting for guys to come down to have a chat with them, then, you know, I sort of got to work as quick as I could. Even the first couple of training sessions, you know, I'm normally reasonably hands-on. I like to throw balls. I like to be hitting catches and doing that sort of stuff. But the first couple of sessions, because I had to sort of put the glove down and just sit back and watch and learn what the players' strengths and weaknesses were. So that, you know, that was a little bit different for me as well. But look, everything's fallen into place really well. We've got a great squad. You know, we've played some really good cricket so far. You know, to the point where really we haven't been that tested in many games so far. You know, our middle order batsmen haven't had to do much, but. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way things have gone. You know, it couldn't have actually panned out much better so far.
True, and also if we have to dive a little deep into our journey this season, the standout moments have been that everyone is chipping in. The way Maxi, Rachin, and everyone else has bowled, Loki in the middle overs or in batting as well. While our middle order didn't get tested quite much, but whenever there was an opportunity, people have chipped in with runs. I particularly remember the game where Lahiru and Obus came in and saw us through. Yeah. So it feels proud to see how everyone is contributing to the cause.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's the dream for a coach, is to have, you know, when guys have limited opportunity, be able to stand up and read the situation of the game and get the job done. That's exactly what happened in that Seattle game. You know, we were in trouble and we had 2 of our local players that hadn't had much exposure at all to this sort of style of or brand of cricket, go out and identify the situation and play it well. I think it was a 63-run partnership maybe that got us across the line with, you know, an over and a half to spare. And yeah, moments like that are the things. I mean, there's been a lot of moments from Travis and Smith and, you know, Lockie, these guys, but you expect that from them. You know that they're going to do it. They've been there and done it a lot of times before. It's the other guys, you know, Ratchin getting 4 for 11, Ober standing up in that game, and, you know. So a lot of those moments have been really good.
And talking about some individuals now, one thing which I'm quite impressed with, and it makes me happy from inside, is seeing Smudge in such a good space. He's smiling so much. He looks happy. The way he is going about his cricket, the way he's gelling with all the boys, phenomenal. Like how do you see him, and what do you think seems a little different, or it's all the same?
No, for him, I just think that's his true leadership coming out in him. But I think being here in a different environment, you know, he's not a real outgoing sort of person. But I think this tournament we've seen a bit more of him in that sort of regard. You know, he's on the golf course. He's hanging out with the boys. He's out for dinner most nights, and, you know, in the team room and stuff. The way he's actually chatting in team meetings, which you guys don't get to see, but he's been really good at being able to address the players in team meetings, which is a great sign of leadership as well. That he wants to own his team. This is his team. It's not my team. It's not the coach's team. It's his team, and he's really embraced that this year. And along with that, I think he's been able to play better as well. So he's sort of playing out of his shell a little bit more than being too conservative, which has been great to sit back and watch. So, you know, he might have had a bit of a chip on his shoulder coming here with not being included in the World Cup squad, and probably, you know, I know he said yesterday in the media that he didn't feel that he had a point to prove, but it looks like to me that he's playing that way. You know, whether that's a point to prove to us that how good he is and that he wants to win a title for Washington Freedom, that's great. But no, he's been awesome. As I said, I've loved working with him. He's great to talk cricket with. You know, I think almost every discussion we've had through the last 3.5 weeks, we've both been on exactly the same page, and I think the results are a reason why that's happened. Yeah.
Absolutely. And another player I've been kind of observing quite closely is Glenn Maxwell. He looks to be in a great space mentally. He seems happy. The way he is interacting with some of the young boys, whether it's in fielding or teaching them about the bowling, it's been quite a great sight to see.
Yeah, well, once again, that's international experience. That's what you want from international players that come into any sort of franchise environment. Is you want them to be able to pass on their learnings. You know, at the end of the day, they're coaches as well. That's what I've always say to these experienced international guys in any team that they're around is you can coach as well. It's not just about me or Whitey or Sean. When you're spending more time with the boys on the field, you can coach them there. It's especially in a batting partnership when you're out in the middle batting and things get tough. If you've got an experienced guy with you, you can teach the other guy exactly tell them what they need to do and get through. Coaches can't do that from the sideline. So I've always said, your teammates and senior players are the best coaches going around, and us guys on the boundary line just chip in and add a little bit where we can. But look, Maxie's Maxie. I think we saw in the last game exactly what he can do when he's really switched on and I think plays the game the way that he wants to play it. He's the most dangerous player in the world.
And one sight which I can never get out of my mind is Maxwell batting in India in the World Cup on one leg.
Well, no legs really. He's cramping in both of his legs and his back, and I happened to be on air calling it at the time. It actually just had a bit of a feel about it. Once he got to sort of 50 or 60, it was like, he's going to win the game. He's just going to do it all by himself. It just had that feeling about it. And then Majid obviously put him down with that catch at short, fine leg, and then that was it. He never looked back after that. So that's what he's capable of.
Another guy which really stands out is Saurabh Netravalkar. With all this travel, family commitments, he's traveling here on private jets, making it for the game, flying back again, and still hitting on the money, right? He's picking up wickets. How have you seen him from closely now? You followed him during the World Cup, but now got to know him a little better.
Yeah, well, I actually followed him last year as well in this tournament because I obviously being one of ours, and I knew that he was going to be a retained player for us. And when you're putting a squad together, you need to know what you've got in your initial squad and what players you need to sort of build around those. So I'd actually had a little bit of a look at him before the World Cup. He was good in the World Cup. He's been unbelievable here. The leading wicket taker. His economy rate's been outstanding. As you say, there's been other distractions with a newborn baby that has happened in the middle of the tournament, but you wouldn't actually know with him. As you say, he's had some extra travel, but he's the ultimate professional. You watch everything he does. He's up early, he's down the team room, he's doing his meditation, he's doing his stretching, he'll be in the pool, he gets all that stuff done. He's the first one. We'll have our bowlers meetings in about 2 hours' time. He'll be the first one to come down to the bowlers meeting, and he's very clear and well planned already about what he wants to do and how he's going to bowl, and he's not let us down once in the tournament. He's been outstanding. So he's been a key factor to the reason that we sit on the table where we are now.